How's it going, Yankee fans? My name is Alex. My co-host here, Ryan Garcia, and we just want to rant about this team. Honestly, just rip it for a couple of minutes here and talk about some of the weaknesses this squad has. And I want to start out with shortstop, man. Yankees Twitter seems to have a better grip on what this team can be and what they need to be doing than Aaron Boone and this coaching staff at times. Honestly, you look at some of the moves they make, and over the last couple of days, Yankee Twitter is saying, "Oh, we should start this guy," and it seems like the Yankees are following suit. They're literally doing what Twitter is saying, and it's kind of disappointing to see that people on their armchairs are figuring out ways to improve this team more so than Aaron Boone. And this is definitely a situation where the Yankees have a lot of talent. They just can't actually put it all together. And at shortstop specifically, Oswald Peraza should have been playing several weeks ago, if not months ago. When he was pulled up, he should have been playing every single freaking day. Instead, the organization was, wholeheartedly behind IKF just to bench him after 3 games in the ALDS, which is simply unacceptable, right? Like, it just malpractice at a certain point when you realize that your shortstop that you've been standing behind and motivating and confiding in over the past couple of months suddenly is benched, and you're sitting there like, why didn't we give our rookie, on the other side of the equation for the Houston Astros? They have a rookie shortstop in Jeremy Pena who's been really, really good during the postseason. And the Yankees are sitting here trying to figure out exactly why they haven't been starting Oswald Peraza for weeks now. During the regular season, he was absolutely fantastic. The guy was hitting 306, the 404 on base rate, hit a homer and 2 RBIs, only striking out at 15.8%. He was walking at 10.5%. Yes, 18 game sample size, small sample size, but we also saw the elite, absolutely elite defensive qualities that he does contain yesterday against the Astros. He was spinning. He was, transitioning that ball to the glove to his hand like instantaneously. And he was making some, really big plays to keep runners from getting on base. And, right now I'm just trying to figure out, why is it that the Yankees know less than everybody else? Why is it that they make decisions so late? Why is it that they cannot figure out that being prideful does not win games? Being prideful in your decision to trade away Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez just to take on the $25 million a year Josh Donaldson and IKF, who, won a Gold Glove at third base, not shortstop, at third base. Why on earth we're sitting here right now discussing how the Yankees should have realized what everybody else realized 2 months ago, that Oswald Peraza should have been starting getting at least every other day at bats at shortstop to get prepared for the playoffs. Why was he not on the ALDS roster? And then suddenly they figure out, everybody's pissed off. Why is Peraza not on the roster? Why is Peraza not on the roster? And then they figure out that he needs to be on the roster for the ALCS. Malpractice at its finest, Ryan. I'm just absolutely baffled by some of the moves that this team makes. And it makes no sense to me because everybody else seems to realize it. Even people that aren't being paid like millions and millions of dollars to get these decisions right. Why is it that they can't figure this out?
Here's the issue. It feels like this team is very stubborn in how they operate. I mean, everyone knew, as you said, everyone knew Oswald Peraza would start over IKF, or should start over IKF at some point. And they call up Peraza. They don't intend on starting him at short. They play him more at second in the beginning. Then they continue. Then Peraza starts hitting well, and they put him back on the bench, and then he doesn't play for like 2 weeks. Then towards the end, they start playing him more, and then October they leave him off the roster in the ALDS. They decided they didn't really need him. And now in the ALCS in game 2, down 1-0 in a series. Now you're down 2-0. You start Peraza, and that's you saying that you don't think IKF can start shortstop. They've started Cabrera at shortstop in the postseason. They've showed that they don't really think IKF is that good of a shortstop, right? So if he's not that good of a shortstop, or if they don't feel as confident in him that he can start every day, why the hell was there no pressure for him to lose his job earlier in the year, right? If there was pressure for it to happen in October, where was that pressure in September? Peraza was not built up to be able to play in the postseason. The Yankees did not do a good enough job to get this guy ready for the postseason. I don't care what anyone tells me. I don't care if people are like, well, you just figure it out. This kid's 22. He didn't even play in the ALDS. He has not played baseball in like 2 weeks up until this point, right? He played his last game on October 4th, and then on October 20th, you're asked to go play the Houston Astros. A little bit confused there, right? A little bit confused with what the process is here, because that's 16 days of no Major League Baseball for you to then go out and, hey, go face Framber Valdez. If you feel like Marwin wasn't that important to your team, even after losing an outfielder, why was he there in the first place? If you felt as if IKF was ever even a question mark to start at shortstop, why did you never take away his starting opportunities in the regular season? Why was that not a thing? and then saying, oh, well, we didn't even consider Josh Donaldson sitting for IKF at third base. What do you mean you don't even consider it? How do you not consider it? How is this not being considered? Again, Donaldson had a good night last night, but again, how was that not considered? We're going to, and then on top of all of this, the constant complaining after the game. Oh, the roof was open. Oh, well, he hit the ball 91 miles an hour. Oh, it wasn't hit that hard. Judge hit his harder. That's a loser mentality. That is, that can't happen. That can't be your quotes. You can't be saying that after a loss like that. What happened to the no excuses mantra from earlier in the year where it was like this team, it's put up or shut up. There's no more excuses. That's their message they put out there. This team was not going to make excuses. And here we are.
How about the wind?
Yeah. How about this? How about that? How about you guys freaking play better? How about you guys hit? You know what I mean? How about you guys don't swing at almost 50% of pitches out of the zone? How about you guys put up more than 2 runs against the Astros? How about you guys put together a quality at bat for once in your lives? You know what I mean? Like, it's put up or shut up. But guess what? For a lot of you guys, it's put up or get the hell out of New York, right? It's that simple. This is, I mean, what happened to the New York Yankees? Every single year, this team gets bent over by another team. And then we go into the offseason and there's no, going on and getting that guy. Like, again, I want to point to this offseason. Look at who was available. Look at the guy. I'm going to just hammer on one guy. Look at Carlos Correa's postseason pedigree. Look at how that guy operates in the postseason. Look at how much of a leader he is to his teammates, to what he meant to the Astros. And you couldn't go out and get him. And imagine taking him from the Astros and putting him on your team in your lineup. That's a killer move right there. That is going out and getting your assassin. You know what I mean? That is going out and getting your mercenary, to go and be that killer for you in that lineup. Instead, you go and get the bringer of rain and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who, no offense, is basically me, but with wheels, right? So, like, I'm just trying to understand personally, what are you going to do this offseason? Okay, you're going to bring back Judge and then what? You're going to do nothing? You're going to retain Rizzo? You're going to retain, maybe Benintendi and what? You're going to roll out the same squad? You're going to run it back? Like, what is this? Like, there needs to be those guys in that lineup that are just killers. Like when you look at Yordan Alvarez and you look at, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, and Kyle Tucker, those guys have been there. Those guys have been to a World Series. Those guys have been to multiple World Series in cases. Some of those guys have won World Series titles. Some those are killers. Those are monsters. Those are dogs right there. Those are guys that when we're talking about a pregame show, we're talking about a series against the Astros, we're talking about the horrors that those 4 guys have imposed on our team, the horrible things they've done to our pitchers on the baseball diamond, the countless just nightmarish moments you can think of with those guys. What Houston Astros fan sits back and goes, remember that time Gleyber Torres did this to us? No, they don't think about that because there isn't no moment where that happened. There isn't a moment where anyone outside of maybe LeMahieu with that home run against the Astros in Game 6, or that's basically it. Where Astros fans sitting back and saying like this guy killed us before. None of these guys, except with the exception of Judge and Stanton, none of these guys really move me as hitters. And Rizzo moves me. Rizzo's a really good hitter. But that's 6 guys right there where you're like, you don't care about pitching to them. You're not worried if you walk the guy in front of them. What? Oh, man, you're going to face Josh Donaldson after walking, Oswaldo Cabrera, the horror. Oh, no, you've put yourself in such a terrible hole. It's Josh Donaldson, bro. Just throw 3 fastballs. So look at all of them. This is just, we need killers, bro, in this lineup, and there's none of them. They don't exist in this lineup, right? And we know this doesn't exist. This has been a problem for however long it may be, right? Go out and keep getting guys who can't hit in October and can't do the job in October and are mediocre bats and expecting to win in the postseason. I expect and demand that if this team doesn't get, this team gets knocked out and this team goes into this offseason, I'm expecting heavy money invested in these bats. You have $30 million coming off the books with Britton and Chapman. You got money coming off the books everywhere, right? I expect a ton of money put into this lineup. I expect this lineup to have killers in it next year because if not, there's no reason to watch. You're just going to get knocked out in the postseason anyways.
Yeah, look, the reality is simple. The Yankees don't have anyone that is imposing, right? Like as you mentioned, they have a couple of guys here and there scattered throughout that you're like, okay, they can hurt us. But you don't have DJ LeMahieu right now. You don't have Benintendi. You're really lacking in some of those key spots, but the pitching has been great, right? The Yankees have solved their pitching issue, and we don't even have Michael King right now. We don't have some of these big guns that we expect to get back. We don't have Scott Efros. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to be getting retooled next year in the pitching department. We're not losing. We're losing Jamison Tyone. That's the only guy that's hitting free agency from that starting rotation. We still got Severino. We still got Garrett Cole. We still have, Frankie Montas. You still got Nestor Cortez locked up for a while. This pitching is fine. The bullpen is fine. A lot of them are hitting arbitration, or let alone not even there yet. I feel very confident in our pitching, but like you just mentioned, it's the hitting that continues to come up short every single freaking year. And like you mentioned as well, the killer aspect. They need to be focusing not so much on regular season numbers, but on October and postseason numbers moving forward. Because normally, great postseason hitters are also great regular season hitters. And this is an Astros team, by the way, that has lost a lot of their talent. We stole Cole from them. Springer's gone. Carlos Correa's gone. And they're still kicking the shit out of us because we're letting Martin Maldonado get on base 3 times. We hit Martin Maldonado once. We walked him another time. He gets a single another time. The Yankees cannot let terrible players beat them, and they're doing that. They're letting terrible players get on base, and it takes one swing of the bat from Alex freaking Bregman, who hits it off the bat at 91 miles an hour, and somehow it goes almost out of the stadium because of the wind. I mean, yes, they're an extremely lucky team. They get a lot of things go their way, but that's because they know where to put the ball. Like you said, they pull the ball. They're not trying to hit opposite field home runs when the wind is blowing it back in a little bit deeper portion of the field, and the Yankees are just not able to take advantage. And here's a question for you, though. If the Yankees have to make a decision between signing Aaron Judge long-term because Hal Steinbrenner is trying to, penny pick and not drop as much money as he wants to. If the Yankees have to make a decision between retaining Aaron Judge and using most of their capital to do that, or bringing in a couple of killers who are traditional postseason monsters, what are your thoughts on that? Are you going with Judge as the solo acquisition and maybe a couple of fillers, or are you going with I'm going to go get 2 or 3 players who I knew are going to dominate during the postseason, or at least historically do, and roll with them instead of going for the one big Aaron Judge swing, which is a conversation that I think is going to happen. We're going to have to make that choice because given the fact that we already know, a report came out a couple of days ago that Hal Steinbrenner refused to let Brian Cashman spend big on shortstop because he was saving money for Aaron Judge. This is something that just came out a couple of days ago. We know this. So we only have to assume that he's not going to want to spend big money on anybody else if they also anticipate re-signing Aaron Judge on a monster deal. What are your thoughts on that?
So in my eyes, at least, I view that this situation as one that the Yankees need to bring back Judge, right? I know that there's going to be what if you go out and get X, Y, and Z? If a team offers him 50 million, yeah, sure, but I don't see a team offering him $50 million a year. So, that's just, if Aaron Judge goes out and gets the contract that Aaron Judge should get, then the Yankees are not going to be priced out. And on top of that, people forget Judge made $19 million this year. So what that means is that, whatever money you add on to that, let's say it's $38 million. It's not a $38 million increase to your payroll on paper as much as it is, 19 million plus, 19 million, that's 38 million right there. So is it a $19 million increase in your payroll worth keeping Aaron Judge? Absolutely. That's how I see it, at least. And if you have Aaron Judge in that lineup, you can still go out and do other things, right? Go out and still go bring back Anthony Rizzo because he has that player opt out. I imagine he's going to opt out. He had a pretty good year. Even not even for more annual average salary, but just for some more financial security, a couple of years here or there. Go out and get one of those big time outfielders. Brandon Nimmo's on the market. Brandon Nimmo had a phenomenal year, right? He's a lefty. Lead him off. Have him hit in the top of the lineup, or if you want power, Jock Peterson's out there. You can find left-handed power on this market. You can find power on this market. You're going to have, younger guys coming up. I imagine Volpe is up at some point next year, and that's an impact player. I know that people are going to be like, oh, you're putting a lot of pressure on a rookie. Well, yeah, this guy's a really good player, and this guy's a really good prospect. So I have faith in him to contribute. You're going to have a full season Cabrera, things like that. Those are those filler pieces, quote unquote, that you'll have around Aaron Judge, which is your team improving because you're going to be able to subtract some poorer players for much better, and some of these younger players that are coming up, Wells as well, Pereira, they'll be able to fill in around Judge. But Judge has to be priority because he's their best player and he's the leader of this team and he means a lot to this organization.
Yeah, I mean, they already have a section carved out in Yankee Stadium for him, so I don't think they can afford to lose him. He's definitely a huge part of the brand. But um, here's the thing: like you said, the Yankees are clearing a lot of money off the books. You have Britton coming off, Chapman's coming off, Joey Gallo's gone. They're going to try and move Josh Donaldson's contract, maybe Aaron Hicks. If they can get rid of Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks, that's $35 million that they clear off the books. That's enough to supplement the difference between Judge his $17 million salary this year and the probably $35 million he's going to get in free agency. So, that's plenty, more than enough money to solve that equation, solve that problem. You have Oswaldo Cabrera as your left fielder or whatever outfield position he's going to play. You have Harrison Bader for another season. You have Peraza who can play shortstop and replace Donaldson even at third base if you wanted him to do that and have IKF at short, which God forbid. Maybe you just move IKF to third base and Peraza at shortstop. That's the better metric if you're going to keep IKF. Or you just have him as a bench reserve piece, and maybe that's even a better idea. So, the Yankees have a lot of money. Hal Steinbrenner's got more money than he knows what to do with. I don't really understand the idea that he can't acquire Aaron Judge and a couple more integral pieces. You got Scott Efros coming back hopefully next year during the postseason because he just underwent Tommy John surgery. You do have Michael King coming back. There's a lot of talent that this Yankee team has, and some younger guys that are probably going to get elevated. Greg Weisert's going to play a big role next year. Ron Marinaccio, we all know that he's a really good pitcher, and he's going to be a big part of this bullpen. There are a lot of starting pitchers coming back. So I'm curious to see how the Yankees kind of approach this. But, right now, it really just comes down to postseason hitting. They don't have guys that get on base. They don't have guys that contact hit. They don't have guys that hit in big moments aside from Rizzo and Stanton, apparently, and Harrison Bader. I mean, Bader could be a star on this team, straight up. What we're seeing from him right now, there's a legitimate, justification to believe and, reasoning that he could be a superstar on this team if he maintains this type of level of play. He just fits the mold so well. Obviously a very great center fielder, but he runs the bases incredibly well. He's showcasing that power. He's already at 4 homers. I think that's one less than his entire regular season total over 86 games. So he's been a tremendous asset up to this point. Obviously that was a great move by Cashman, but I'll tell you what, right now, the Montas deal might end up being one of the worst deals that we've seen from this team. It could be another Sonny Gray situation. Hopefully he bounces back next year and looks just great. I know, Ryan, you're a big fan of Montas and believe he has great stuff. And I do believe he'll bounce back next year with a full season worth of action with the Yankees, but him going down, a lot of untimely injuries really hurt this team. Having LeMahieu and Benintendi right now would have been a huge difference maker. It really would have changed everything for what the Bombers are trying to do. But unfortunately, we have to deal with the hand that we're dealt. And right now it's just not looking great. But, this upcoming 3-game stretch against Houston and the Bronx is going to determine whether Yankee fans turn on Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman or not. I think Cashman's already signed an extension. Boone, I think he's also is he up for an extension as well, or did he already sign one? Do you know what that's looking like?
I think Boone's under contract. Cashman is not under contract, so they have to extend him if they do.
Do you think they do? So you think they do? Even if they kind of flop, you think
they could get swept? He's staying. So
Cashman, yeah, I think you're right. Boone, though, I just don't really get the whole argument around liking Aaron Boone to begin with. He's kind of a player's coach, and he likes to support them and support them in a way that's a little bit maybe more lengthy than what we desired, considering they stuck with IKF for so long and even Donaldson, whatever it might be. But what are your thoughts on the percentage of the probability that they could move on from Aaron Boone? Do you think there's even a slight chance they would do that?
I mean, I think they could. I see Boone as a lot more of a, the Yankees, like Cashman and Hal can scapegoat Boone, and that'll be, something that they could definitely do. I don't think Boone is the problem here. I know, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, how much of his decisions are from the front office versus how many of them are actually his moves. Realistically, I'm going to look at this and say, when Aaron Boone has rarely blown postseason games for the Yankees. Usually the Yankee offense does it themselves. And when it comes down to player performance, I'm going to put that more on whoever assembled the roster than who's managing the roster, right? I know that it's very easy to get upset at Aaron Boone because it's easy to do it, right? It's easy to kind of just go, damn you, Boone, or freaking Aaron freaking Boone, man. This guy did this and that. But let's be real here. Aaron Boone's not changing Josh Donaldson hitting 5th or 6th, right? Because you could say, well, he's the one who puts him there. Yeah, well, who's hitting 5th or 6th for this team right now? Who are you going to hit 6th, right? We're going to put Kyle Higashioka 6th. That'll change things. You know what I mean? So, it's not like these guys are necessarily stacked with talent. Aaron Boone's putting a bad hitter or a league average hitter in front of some studs. He's putting a league average hitter in front of guys who are either young, like Peraza and Cabrera, or your backup catcher. So again, you can look at the roster, you can look at how this team's played, and my conclusion I draw from it is that this team isn't good enough so far, and they haven't played good enough. The talent hasn't been there, and they're getting out talented by the Houston Astros, which has nothing to do with managers, has nothing to do with who comes from the who makes what call from the bullpen. It has everything to do with how the rosters were assembled. So they can move on from Boone. We can talk it up like it's a big organizational change. It means nothing. Whatever guy that they bring in is going to have to be approved by Cashman, have to be approved by Hal, have to be approved by the organization, and they're going to have to fall in with the organization's ideals and their philosophy. So you'll just get another Aaron Boone basically in terms of decision making. I don't really think he changes much if he leaves or if he stays. It's very much just okay.
Yeah, I guess they have to just improve the talent because, like you said, there's who you put in fifth, who you batting sixth, who you bat in seventh. If you don't have the guys that actually can step up to the plate and make something happen, Boone can't play for them. I do understand that mentality, and I think that's a pretty reasonable and neutral approach. Toward a lot of people might think differently, and I'd always love to hear perspectives and opinions below in the YouTube comments. Because this is a team that has flaws. They have vulnerabilities. They get injured at inopportune times. And now we're left trying to pick up the pieces and find ways to supplement that. And, not having DJ LeMahieu, Donaldson might not be playing right now if LeMahieu was healthy. Gleyber Torres might not be playing right now if LeMahieu was healthy because of his offensive, deficiencies through the playoffs. So there are guys that just need to step up and actually show up. That's really it. You can't go through cold streaks in the postseason if you want to win a World Series. It's unacceptable. I think Bader, we've seen a lot of great things from some of these guys that they did acquire, but a lot of them also have flopped. So, guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below. This is a team that has a lot of vulnerabilities, flaws, and whatnot, but I am confident that we can turn things around if the offense starts, getting going. The pitching, I've been very impressed with. I've been very, very confident in the pitching. I think that that's something that we have solved, but the offense, you can't score 2 runs against the Astros in consecutive games and win. It's not going to happen. You can't depend on Framber Valdez throwing a ball away to score runs. It's not sustainable. It's unsustainable. So I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts because this is an interesting situation to say the least, but enjoy the day off, enjoy the mental health day from the Yankees not playing. And we'll get back to you guys tomorrow with any updates and obviously lineup changes that they do make ahead of Game 3 in the Bronx. But appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening to us to rant and whatnot. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.